UConn Skyler Bell's having a great season. He's on track to finish with 1,300 yards. He already has 13 touchdowns on the year, and we're going to watch what he did against FAU. He finished with 8 catches, 125 yards. I'm telling you right now, from an evaluation standpoint, I don't know that this is the best game. A lot of these were shorter throws. I'm not sure we can get a full opinion on Skyler Bell, but, we have the video. I do think that there's some things that we'll look at and talk about looking at in further evaluations, if that makes sense. But if you're a UConn fan, I just figured I'd get this up. He's a great football player. Want as much content about these guys as we can get up. But this first is a swing pass from quarterback number 2. I'm not even going to try to say the name. Great player, though. He's having a great season, Fignano. I always say I'm not going to try it, and then I try. Really great athlete, Skyler Bell, and I don't know if we can tell it on this one, but there's a couple of these swing passes where we can see that explosiveness. We can see the change of direction. And I know those are buzzwords at this point, but, at UConn, we really have to be blown away by the traits. We can't just rely on the production. Zay Jones is a great receiver at ECU. Last I checked, I know he was in 2016. I'm not sure if anybody broke this. Zay Jones for ECU, all-time FBS receptions leader, all-time college football receptions leader. He got drafted not just based on the production, right? We have to feel good about the athleticism, the receiver he is. Not just Skyler Bell, the stat sheet player, the guy that shows up in the box score. Skyler Bell, the football player, the UConn Husky. We have to feel good about that, and I think we see some flashes of that. And I really like the change of direction and then the acceleration off of the change of direction. This dude with the ball in his hands, you can tell UConn had a concerted effort to just get Skyler Bell the ball, get number 1 the ball, and you can see why. Right here, just completely changes directions, and then look at the acceleration to kind of blow past this FAU defender right here. And dude has an angle on him, so he knocks him out of bounds, but I think you can see how, first, easily the movements happen, sure, and then that straight line speed, the acceleration right there. And I know it's just a 5-yard screen, whatever it was, but watch this slant route right here. So there's a couple things about route running or watching people run routes and kind of knowing how good of route runners they are. Part of it is you could tell on a field with nobody on it if they're just running routes. You can see who's a good route runner. That shows up. I think one thing that really helps me tell how sudden of a route runner is watching the D-back. And watch the D-back on Skyler Bell right now. Watch his left hip, how it just kind of flares out, and then all of a sudden that's going to give Skyler Bell the inside. So he does a good job first making the D-back kind of open up to that left, and then the acceleration into the middle of the field. And this ends up being something like a 15-yard gain. And we'll talk about how just quick he separates and how quick he gets open on this slant route. But you see that left hip just kind of flare right there. All of a sudden, that's just going to give Skyler Bell, the really good receivers, they can take advantage of those D-backs being out of position, and you can see how out of position he is. I think most of the middle of the pack receivers, this is a 5-yard gain, maybe a 7-yard gain, but Skyler Bell with that acceleration is completely open over the middle of the field, and then see him with the ball in his hand. It's going to give you a little more than just where he was caught the ball, but see how quick first this D-back gets out of position. Skyler Bell takes advantage of that, and then it's a good job by the quarterback number 2 hitting him over the middle. And that ends up being something like a 15-yard gain. We'll watch this next route here. Really clean release, I think. I don't think he's trying to take the top off the defense, obviously, here, so he's not exploding upfield, but not a lot of wasted motion on this release. It's just off of the back foot. And I'm really excited for the Senior Bowl to see how he fares in the Senior Bowl, because that's where you can kind of see the more raw football stuff. I don't know if that makes any sense, but excited to watch him. Senior Bowl. Nice shorter screen there. We're going to see this on the backside. And then we see that acceleration again right after he gets around 26. Once you give him an angle, certainly with the ball in his hands, has that acceleration to take advantage of it. And is it acceleration, explosiveness? I really like this dude's speed after about 2 yards. You can kind of see him just go upfield. And this was a slot fade that doesn't get caught, and I actually have this on Skyler Bell. Quarterback's having a great season, and this throw was there to be had, and he's way faster. Skyler Bell's way faster than this D-back. He just kind of holds up on him, and, I don't think it's a speed thing. I think it's a bit more of, a timing thing. Just would have liked him to continue pressing upfield, but you can see he kind of slows down just a little bit, and this just gets overthrown by about 5 yards. But, I think you can see after he passes this corner at the 35-ish, you see him just kind of separate for 2 yards, and then he just holds up. He's open this entire time, after he passes him. Ball just kind of holds up. And this is an incomplete pass here over the middle. We just didn't have too many him running routes. There's a lot of screen routes, so I wanted to get some of him running routes up on here. And then this is the last catch. Yeah, when you got a cushion like this, this pretty much turns into a screen pass. Just get him the ball in the hands, Get him the ball in his hands. This is a pretty easy throw for the quarterback, just how fast he can get over the middle. We saw that of him running a route before, but when you give him this big of a cushion, he can do it also. But that's what Skyler Bell did. I meant to change this. Let me see if I can do that real quick. That's what Skyler Bell did. If you want a place to store draft evaluations or just, find players, or even if you want to just look at what other people think about football players, we-draft.com is the place for it. We even got the UConn branding up. So you got the current Husky and the old Husky. That reminds me of Kemba Walker, the basketball player. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think about Skyler Bell, any other football players you want me to, maybe be on my radar and get some tape up there. Thanks for watching.